Super Wildcard Weekend for a reason, and as you already have seen, there has been two upsets this week. We're going to get into that and more today on the Red, White, and Ruthless on Nickel City Mafia, where our family business is football. Super Wildcard Weekend. It is what we love to talk about, right where the Bills belong, back in the playoffs again for another year. But we have a few games that already have played. We are into our weekly picks already. Sean gained a game on me this week, and we both ended up taking the Dallas Cowboys. So not the results that we thought we were going to see, but Sean, man, I mean, it's just another week, and we got a lot to talk about. We also have to talk about our Buffalo Bills quite a bit today. Yes. But let's start with the Super Wildcard Weekend first, and let's not talk about the Bills. Let's talk about some other stuff. So, man, who would have expected the Houston Texans to beat up on the Cleveland Browns so badly? I did not expect it, but Sean Kula expected it, apparently. So he gains a couple of points on our weekly picks show. So, Sean, talk to the viewers about that game.
Yeah, well, when you think about it, things always they regress back to the mean. So, the Browns are beating up crappy teams all year. They were getting away with it with good defense. And then, Joe Flacco was looking okay, but, was turning the ball over more than even Josh Allen was in the last 8 weeks of the season. So I just had a feeling luck runs out once in a while. The Vikings were like in first place at one point when they had backup quarterbacks and they were doing good, and then they fell off and they were 7-10. Other teams had backup quarterbacks and they were falling off. And then like the Bengals were in a playoff run. Their luck ran out. It just runs out. And the Texans, a young, hungry team coached by a young, hungry coach at home. I had a feeling that, because the Browns blew them out earlier in the year, and I just didn't think that was going to happen again. And, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a blowout. 2 pick sixes in a row kind of changed the game a little bit. But, they did a good job. And, CJ Stroud has been a great quarterback this year. And what I just fail to understand with that team is I've never seen – and I'm not trying to discredit CJ Stroud, but I've never seen so many wide open receivers or tight ends and running backs in my entire life watching a game of football. So that's credit to them and Bobby Slowick for drawing up an offense where, it caters to, a young rookie quarterback who's able to be himself and thrive in an offense. It also helps when you got Laramie Tunsil, who the Dolphins gave to the Texans, the best tackle in the NFL. And then, they got a couple guys like Shaq Mason, who they got over from New England, and then Noah Fant, who has been a long time great tackle in this league. So, they hit the draft well the last couple of years, and they hit free agency, and they got a good offensive line, they got good weapons and a good quarterback. So, good for them. It's going to be tough for them to go into either Kansas City or into Baltimore. Granted, depending on how the Steelers-Bills games go. So still, though, they had a great, successful year and a lot of success in the future for them, I believe.
Yeah, you're exactly right on that. We do have John Robert in the chat room. Greatly appreciate you for coming on the show, John. Haven't seen you in a while. But, yeah, Stroud has looked awesome as a rookie. I completely agree. And this is one of those games where I could not believe how many wide open players were out there for Houston. I mean, it seemed like pretty much that it was a grocery store for the Cleveland Browns defense. They were just giving everything away. Looked like it was buy one, get one free. Here you go. Here's another throw. Here's another throw right there.
Every completion seemed to be nobody was within 5 yards of them. And I was just like, how is this even possible? Like, this is, I can't fault him for throwing to the open guy because he should. He's doing the right thing. He's seeing the field really well. So I obviously gets the credit there. It's just, are our weapons that bad where they can't get open? Like,
I know. That's how I feel.
Is it that hard for them to get open, man? Like, damn. But yeah, good win for the Texans. The last time they won a playoff game was when they beat us in 2019.
That's right.
In that controversial game. But, who knows? Maybe they could beat Baltimore.
We'll see. And then you got the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. And I don't know if you saw what was written on all the Wikipedia pages for Mike McCarthy, but there's some funny stuff that was on there. Pretty much
you did that.
Yeah, I wrote one. I'm not going to lie, but I mean, there's a bunch of crazy ones. We do have Christopher Roseborough coming in the chat saying go Bills as well. And
yes,
wait for that. But let's talk real quick about that Dallas game. I mean, who would have expected for not only Jordan Love to come out there and play such a good game? And he was spot on from the start.
Yeah. It was a rough day for the Cowboys. It looked like on defense, they just literally couldn't do anything. And then offensively, when you're playing down and you try to do too much, you try to force it to your best player, you get a couple picks, you get a pick six, and then it puts you at a disadvantage and you can't climb out of it. They almost did climb out, they almost were able to come back from that, even though they lost by 16. They were down 27-0, and they put up 32, in the second half. So, I was surprised how good the Packers played because I don't think they're a great football team. But, that's the thing that's why it's so hard to win a Super Bowl, because it's not like baseball or basketball or any other sport where you get more than one opportunity in a playoff scenario. You get at least two. In baseball, a best set of three. So if you lose the first game, you can still win the next two, and then you win. You could have a bad day. Dallas had a bad day at home when they were 8-0 at home, and Green Bay had a great day. I don't think they're going to do any. They're not going to beat the Niners. They're going to get smoked. But they started off. They got the ball first. They said, "Hey, we're going to get the ball first and score first." I guess Dallas was like 2-5 when they didn't score first. So that Packers, knowing that, they went and they went with confidence down the field and got a nice touchdown. And then that was really it was hard for the Cowboys to come back after that. CeeDee Lamb just looked off in the first half. They couldn't run the ball.
No.
But, I was high on the Cowboys this year, and they had a bad day.
Yeah, I built into the hype of the Cowboys, and I think everybody did. But
yeah, you should.
You should, and they should have definitely won that game. So here's the question I will pose to you, Sean, and I'll pose it to the chat as well. Do you think that Mike McCarthy will be fired after this game?
I don't know. I don't think he should. I don't think he should be. What was it? Greg Olson was mentioning, 3 years in a row with 12 wins. It's hard to be that consistent. And, how much of this was really on McCarthy, you know what I mean? So it depends how Jerry feels. I mean, who else are you going to get out there? A couple guys that got fired, you might bring in Vrabel, you might bring in, Pete Carroll, who knows? But I think McCarthy's done good things in Dallas. Yeah, sure, they haven't gotten to the championship or the Super Bowl, but they're close. They're close. So I don't know. Maybe.
They're very close, and that's a great question. I would pose it to the chat. Put your comments in the comment section below as well. But, Sean, let's talk about the main thing that we got to talk about, which is Super Wildcard Weekend for us. The Bills game was supposed to be tonight. We were supposed to be having our post-game show now. Unfortunately, with the weather conditions in Buffalo, we were not able to talk about it. The weather, I mean, from what Jake Podger and what we've seen on the weather reports and everything, it looks bad. And for everybody that's up there in Buffalo, we hope that everybody's safe. That's the main thing. But we can't wait for tomorrow with the game at 1 o'clock being moved. And the conditions are going to be better, but it's going to be a little colder. So that's a good sign. But let's talk about this game against the Steelers. And
Is it 4:30 or 1 o'clock?
4:30. I'm sorry. Moved from 1 o'clock to 4:30.
Okay. You scared me for a minute.
I know I scared you. I'm sorry. I scared you. But my bad. It was switched from 1 o'clock to 4:30. Yeah. I'm running off of pretty much adrenaline now after I'm on my fourth show of the day so far today. So I apologize if I make any mistakes, guys. But let's talk about this. And Sean, we got a couple of players out this week. We have Gabe Davis out so far. Got a couple of players questionable as well. So let's talk about the Bills and what they need to do to get a win this week against the Steelers.
Yeah, it's you don't want a game like the Cowboys-Packers game where you're absolutely the better team. You have way more talent. You're at home. There should be no reason to lose this game. But as we saw, anything can happen. So it's really just be consistent. Don't turn the football over. As you saw in the Dallas game, if that pick six didn't happen, that last drive would have been to win the game, possibly, that the Dallas Cowboys had. And the game could have been different. So don't give the Steelers more opportunities. You got to be able to stop the run. I mean, Najee Harris looks like he runs through quicksand.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be able to beat you on the outside. So if you stop the run and force Mason Rudolph to beat you, and if you do get beat by Mason Rudolph, then we didn't belong in the playoffs in the first place. So I like our opportunities to beat them if Mason Rudolph is throwing the football. They got a couple great receivers, Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, but I like our defense. I like what we've been doing, and I'm not really concerned about their offense versus our defense. And then again, it's just being consistent with the football. And maybe Russell Douglas plays. We have an extra day off, so maybe he will, maybe he won't. But apparently, the weather's still going to be bad, according to Kathy Hochul. She said it's it's not life threatening, but it's going to be awful out. So probably similar conditions anyway. So it's going to be short passes, run the football, stop the run, sell out for the pass. And that's even better, I guess, then too, if, they can't beat you deep because of the snow and the wind.
Yeah.
Really still out on the run and then try to force some mistakes underneath. And then the same thing with us, be able to run the football, quick, short passes, and then, be able to win a game like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. Do want to get to the score update real quick. I appreciate John Robert for coming in with the score update. 14-3 so far. Detroit is up. I took the Rams. I know. I believe you did as well.
No, I picked the Lions, baby.
Oh, you picked the Lions. So, oh man, you might make up some points there. So,
yeah, because I got the Texans and the Chiefs, so that's 6 points, and you only got the Chiefs so far. So,
oh man,
if I win this, then I'll have 9 points. And you only have 3.
Man, I'm hoping that for a turnaround. Matthew Stafford, come on, man, let's get it back together. But yeah, there's a couple of players that have been elevated from the practice squad. It does seem like we're gonna miss Tyrell Dodson. So we will see AJ Klein, who was signed earlier in the week, back to the practice squad. He could be back up, being at least a backup this week, possibly even Dorian Williams starting this week. We'll see what happens, but it's going to seem like that he's going to be playing this week. Isabella was activated as well. So it seems like obviously we're not going to see Gabe Davis, but we might see a little bit of a combination at the number 2 wide receiver. I expect that to be Trent Sherfield, who stepped up quite a bit this week. So, Sean, I was going to ask you, what do you think the Bills need to do to get their number 2 wide receiver involved in the game this week?
Well, Pittsburgh struggles with tight ends, so maybe focus on just tight ends a little bit in the middle of the field, short passes, get them the football in space. Not necessarily number 2 receiver, but that's the way they can be beat. As far as number 2 goes, I like Shakir in that role. So he's a guy who's always getting separate. He's one of the only few guys that always gets separation. So look for him quick. Hopefully he's a first read once in a while. Again, that's all depends on weather too. We don't know how the weather is going to really be. I heard it's going to be bad, but then it's going to stop at game time. So who knows? But yeah, I would focus on tight ends, Knox and Kincaid. Middle of the field, the linebackers aren't that good, so that'd be nice. And then quick passes to Shakir, quick passes to Diggs. Let your playmakers make plays. Don't leave that ball in the air too long for the wind to take it and get picked or picked, and all that other stuff. So, the line of scrimmage is going to be tough, but there's snow everywhere. Footing might be an issue. Defensive linemen might not be able to get as much of a speed boost, as they initially would normally. So it might help. The offensive lines will benefit both sides of the both teams. But yeah, I just say stick to the quick passes.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And another thing that I'm thinking about is I'm going back to that Cincinnati game last year, and I'm thinking about the footing, and that's one thing that Buffalo struggled with this week or last year, and we have to do a good job of getting our footing down. So I want to see what the Bills decide to do there. But Sean, let's talk about the Bills defense, and they're going to be going up against Mason Rudolph, who I feel like this matchup, I mean, we don't really know what we're going to see from Mason Rudolph. He plays kind of sporadically, I would say is the best word to describe it. And this offense of the Steelers is, they don't have a lot of playmakers, but when they do get to their playmakers, George Pickens is probably the biggest one that they've started to get the ball to him. He makes the biggest plays. So what do the Bills have to do this week, especially with them possibly being without Rasul Douglas? What do they need to do to get the ball back to the team and create third down stops?
Well, you got to be physical just like every other week. Pickens is like lightning in a bottle. Sometimes he's, absolutely contained and does nothing. And then the other times will go for 200 yards on you. Again, if it's, really windy and, kind of white out, but not as bad as it's been, and, the snow all over the field, they might not be able to get deep passes going, by the time the pass rush gets there. So, being physical at the line, it might be risky, but then it might help us out a lot in the long run, or at least tight coverage, just maybe a tipped or a pass in the wind can get caught, and we get a little break. But, yeah, it's, Mason Rudolph. He was also drafted the year Josh Allen was drafted too.
Yeah.
I always forget about that until we played them. So he was in that draft class, but he wasn't in the first round, obviously. So battle of 2018 quarterbacks. But yeah, I mean he's decent, but this goes back to what I said about the Browns. He's got 3 games where he's got three touchdowns, no turnovers. They put up 30 points twice. That's going to run out. How many games is Mason Rudolph going to play great football? You know what I mean? Like, so as good as the defense is of Pittsburgh, this is, and, it helps their offense out. It's just one of those games where I just don't see Rudolph having a great game, and we'll be able to take advantage of it because, people forget. People talk about, the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is perfect weather for them. They love to run the football. And everyone forgets, media and other people, that the Bills have a great running game now. We had a 1,000-yard rusher. We have Josh Allen. You got Leonard Fournette. You got Ty Johnson. You got Latavius Murray. So, yeah, we could play that game too. You know what I mean? So if you want to run the football, we'll be able to do that. You want to go outside the tackles, inside the tackles, we can do that. You want to do quick passes, we can do that. So there's nothing that we can't do on offense in this kind of weather. So even though this placates to, this helps out a bad team where it neutralizes the playing field. So, whereas you would probably blow them out if there was playing conditions. And then, now it's crappy weather, so it's evens it out. I still think it won't matter at this point.
Yeah. I know that Kelly Bills is asking, is Johnson out? I don't believe
Ty Johnson. No, I think he's good.
Ty Johnson will play. I wasn't sure if he's talking about Taron Johnson or Ty Johnson, but
no, because he had the concussion last week.
That's right.
He's definitely going to play because he had the extra day too now. So
that's true.
And he'll play.
Yeah, I think he'll play. I expect. I mean, honestly, if the Bills didn't roll out Gabe Davis as soon as they did, I expected probably Gabe would have played this game too. So that's one of the things that I thought about. The Bills didn't activate Leonard Fournette, so that's another sign that probably Ty Johnson is going to be playing. So, Sean, let's get into I want to get into keys to the game. And I know that this is an area we talk about a lot, but I want to talk about keys to the game. And tell me maybe 3 or 4 keys to the game for you. I know we don't give a lot of love to the offensive line, but I think that they deserve a little bit.
You don't. I do.
Well, I don't give a lot of love to them. You do on your channel, but
or most of Bills Mafia doesn't.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, let's talk about the keys to the game. I want to hear your breakdown of what you think the Bills need to do to win this game.
Yeah, well, as you said, Brett, it always starts up front. You know, the O-line is the and defensive line too. But D-line doesn't get criticized and, beaten down like O-line does by our community. But this is it's a gritty game against a physical, tough team. They still got great pass rushers and D linemen over there. Our same offensive line has been 17 games in a row together. They built that, since week 1, they built that camaraderie and, they used to how the person next to them is playing, which is huge. They've grown each week. They're a top 10 line this year, no matter what people say. Its stats are there. Rankings show it. They've earned every little bit of credit that they get. And they should be getting. A lot of people, like I said, a lot of people in our community dog them every chance they get, for absolutely no reason. And that's why I always focus on talking about them. So winning up front, defensive line has to win as well. And then you're going to take care of the football. If you turn the football over more than once, it's going to be a hard game to win because, again, Pittsburgh will play that type of game. We'll run the ball 50 times. You want to keep turning the ball over? Okay, we'll control the game. Yeah. And then, depending on the weather, stick to short passes, kind of like what Kansas City did. Maybe the one deep ball's open once in a while, but stick to the short routes, run the football when you can, and really just that's as simple as it gets, man. Went up front as every week. And, this is what I was, every year I say, we go as far as the O-line takes us. We go as far as Josh takes us. We got to run the football. Now we got a great offensive line. We got a great running game, and it's playoff time. So let's see it now. Josh has to take over as well, but run the football well. And, the offensive line is I believe they're going to perform great like they have been all season. And we will see, and we will win the football game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I do like Beth B's comment here. She said, key to the game, the Bills need to score first, fast, and fierce, then not let off the gas till the clock hits double zeros in the fourth quarter. Completely agree with you on that. John Robert coming in hot with the score update. He's beating me to the punch on it. Score update now, the Lions are up 14-10 so far. And Beth B coming in key to play to win the game. Really appreciate everybody.
This is a crappy team. If all the playoff teams, they're the ones that probably shouldn't be in out of all 14 of them. So we can't play like how we did in the regular season where there's a lesser opponent and we just kind of, don't know how to play against them. You got to put the pedal to the metal, like Beth said, play to win, and just impose your will on them, dominate them every way, make them feel like they don't want to come back on the field the next drive, destroy them, and then go into the next week against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the other thing too. Regular season, you play a bad opponent or a lesser opponent, you might be like, oh well, it's just a game, it's just 1 week. But now it's like, oh, if you choose to play like that, if you choose to play this way in the playoffs, you can go home, and then that's it. So, and I think they know what's ahead of them. If you win, you can host Kansas City Chiefs. You can get your revenge on the Chiefs, and then you can maybe host the AFC Championship if Baltimore loses to the Texans. So, this is huge. This is the best year anyone has to win it. Nobody's guaranteed. It's not Chiefs are guaranteed to the Super Bowl this year. Any team that's left can win, except for the Steelers. So don't allow them the opportunity to stay into the football game. Get up. Don't turn the football over. Play physical defense. Play aggressive. End the game by the third quarter where it's like, okay, now we just run out the clock. We eat some clock up and stay healthy and get into because then Kansas City, if we win, they got 2 extra days of rest. Sure, we don't have to travel, but we have 2 less days to game plan, 2 less days to ice bath and to rest and to recover. So, try to get us out early.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. And I do appreciate everybody for coming into the comments. Beth B, Christopher, John Robert, everybody for coming into the comments. But the more important thing, guys, double tap that like button, hit the like button, drop a nickel on that subscribe button as well. We greatly appreciate that as well. Also, don't forget, you can share this to all your friends as well. All these things are totally free. It helps us get our viewers up, helps us get every comment that comes in. It helps us get more and more exposure for everybody as well. So we greatly appreciate that as well. So drop a nickel on that like button, subscribe. It is totally free. And just remember, it's for good people that love talking about our Buffalo Bills. So Sean, let's talk about the injury report for the Steelers. And I pulled it up real quick. Obviously, TJ Watt being out, that's a big help for the Buffalo Bills with a knee injury. But on Friday, we saw Najee Harris with a knee injury. It was a full practice, as well as Minkah Fitzpatrick with a knee injury, full as well. And then Landon Roberts with a pec injury was a full participant. So they're expecting to get Minkah back as well as Landon Roberts. But the biggest one that I don't think that being talked about enough is guard Isaac Samalo is out with a shoulder injury.
He's ruled out?
He's been ruled out already.
Wow.
So that's a big deal for the Bills. That will help a lot too. So can't wait to see that. And that only helps the Bills defense. And I think that we're going to have a good number in this game. So let's talk about the Bills defense. And I want to talk about one player in particular who has been having like one of those seasons to forget, to be honest with you. Let's talk about Von Miller a little bit today and talk about the importance of him coming alive in the playoffs, because I think that right now, I don't know if you know this, but Stephon Diggs has more tackles than him this season, and which is crazy from a wide receiver's perspective. And I'm not bashing Von. I personally think that this is a washed year from him. It's hard to get back from a ACL injury, and we'll see what happens. But I think for sure that the Bills are going to need to get Von going as the playoffs come alive.
Yeah, definitely. This type of game, depending on the weather, it might not be a big passing game anyway. So, this might just be a stop on the run type game. So, he's, if anything, I don't think he's best suited for that right now. So maybe he can get, a couple plays in, but maybe some rest, maybe rest him a little bit this week by, again, if we're just running if they're just running the football, he's not the best run stopper at this point in time. So we'll see, but he's making decent plays here and there and getting some couple pressures, but he's absolutely not who he was last year. Maybe next year he will be.
Yeah, I completely agree with that comment too. Trying to get into the comment section too as well. Question from John Robert saying that has Pittsburgh flown in yet? I imagine they have, but I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't. They're only about an hour away by flight, so I mean it would be a little surprising if they haven't flown in yet. But I imagine they have already made it to Buffalo. But I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't either. So they could fly in tomorrow morning and then just play the game. But I imagine by now they're already into Buffalo. Let me just go with the comments real quick. Bills fan CA coming in hot saying, yes, Love has looked great down the stretch. Some great young quarterbacks in the league as well. Beth B coming in saying they have left and they are in Buffalo, which is great to know. They arrived around 5:00, so that's good. But Beth also saying it's hard to come back from an injury, but Vaughn has done it before. He needs to break that first sack. Once he does that, his game will catch up. Completely agree with that comment too. It's just hard coming back from a knee injury, and I think the expectations have been so high on him. But I mean, listen, Trey didn't come back fast off of a knee injury as well, and I think that he was starting to come into his own as the season was coming along. And then unfortunately he had another injury and tore his Achilles. So I think that he'll be back to somewhat normal in probably 2 years, but he's not going to be the same player ever again, I would say. But we'll see what happens with Vaughn. Maybe next year will be the year, but I think he's going to start to come alive and get his first sack in the playoffs, though. But let's get into talking about the offense, and I want to talk about Josh Allen and the importance of this Bills offense. And I'm going back and forth for a reason, because I want to talk about the offense and defense and give them both the right amount of time to talk about them. But let's talk about the Bills on offense. And Sean, I don't know how you feel about the Bills offense, but it seems to me like they start off so slow in the first quarter and in the second quarter. And I don't know what that's all about, but I want to know from you, because I think it's important. And I'm going to pose a question to the channel as well. Everybody put your comments in the comment section below. What do you think the first play from the Bills is going to be when they come out on offense? Do you think it's going to be a run or a pass play?
Probably a run.
You think a run play? I mean, I would love to see like a play action play, take a shot deep down the field, just to see what the defense is going to be, because that's the best time where you're going to see one-on-one coverage. They're going to probably expect to see a run play. Why not take a shot deep down the field and just, hope for a pass interference or something like that? That's the time when you want to see a one-on-one coverage, and maybe we can get Diggs going early and on a one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We ran the ball. I mean, that last game, we ran the ball on first down like every single time. And I was like, are we going to stop doing this? Because it's really, really predictable. So it might be nice to start with a play action, because they'll probably assume we're going to run. But like Christopher said, depends on wind and the weather. I think they want to probably run first to try to establish the run, just so we can work the pass. So I think we'll run.
I mean, I imagine it's going to be a run, but I mean, what better way than to determine if you can throw in the wind than to throw on first down and just take the shot. If you miss deep and you can throw into the wind, that's great. If you miss short and it's not catched, then that's another thing. But I mean, I think that the biggest thing is the Bills have to start off very hot this game, and they got to take shots down the field too. So when it's open and it's one-on-one coverage, let's just take a shot. And just like John Roberts saying, I'm not saying throw it into double coverage and get an interception, but just take the shots when they're there. And that's what I want to see. Wind's still going to be difficult. I completely agree. 25 miles an hour is difficult. But what better quarterback than to throw the ball in the wind than Josh Allen? And that's what I'm saying, is take the shots with Josh and throw the ball down the field and see what we can do. And if that happens, then, who knows? We could be able to score and light up the scoreboard in this game. But let's go into another topic. I want to talk about something else, because we talk about the Steelers a lot, and we don't give it a chance to talk about other topics other than the Bills. And I want to bring up some of the other NFL head coaches and their positions that have been vacated. I want to talk about them a little bit today, and we saw one of the positions filled. Gerard Mayo is going to become the New England Patriots head coach. But let's talk about the other 7 head coaching positions that are available. And Sean, I want to ask you, and I want to ask to the viewers as well, which head coaching position, if you were an NFL head coach, would you be interested in?
Probably the Seahawks. They're probably the best team. And, they have a decent young core. They have some young pieces on defense. I guess they kind of still need a quarterback, but they're kind of built. And I guess maybe the Chargers, because they always have a good roster. They just always stink. So I guess it depends who the coach is. But, if I'm a great coach and I'm going to pick one of those teams, probably either the Chargers because they got the quarterback and the weapons, or the Seahawks because they got a pretty built team as well. They could have made the playoffs this year. They just they finished 9-8, and they needed the Packers to lose to make it, and they won. So, didn't work out for them. But one of those two teams probably.
Okay, I like that. So I'm going to go around the horn real quick, okay? We're going to go through all 7 of the NFL head coaching vacancies. Give me one candidate that you think that could win the job for each of them, okay? So we're going to start off. We're going to start off with the tough one, and this is the Carolina Panthers.
I don't know. I don't think anybody wants the job, so it's hard to say.
You think they're just going to keep their head coach?
I don't know because I don't know if they even want to hire someone else. They'll be paying 4 coaches salaries for one coach because Matt Rule is getting paid for the next 5 years or 4 years, 3 years. Frank Reich is going to get paid for the next 3 years, and they got to hire another coach. So I don't know if they're going to be willing to just hire, another player, maybe a guy like Leslie Frazier will take that job just to have a head coach job, but he might not because he already been fired before as a head coach. So if you get the Panthers job, you're going to get fired mid-season anyway. So it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. So not too sure. There's a lot of moving pieces for that one, like I said, because who wants to pay 3 different coaches? You know what I mean? So that's that reason. And then I don't think anybody wants to coach Carolina. They got nothing going for them. Bryce Young is horrible. Their team is horrible. They have their best player was Adam Thielen. He's like 50 years old. They have terrible defense, terrible offense, terrible O-line. So it's very rough. That's a Sean McDermott type team to take over.
Yeah, I agree with that comment. Now let's move on to the AFC West. We got 2 teams that have vacancies in the AFC West. We'll start with probably the easier one with the Raiders position. Do you imagine that job's going to go to Antonio Pierce?
Yeah, probably should. One of my clients is a Raiders fan. He likes Pierce as a rah-rah guy, but he thinks he's not, as far as play calling and the football aspect of it, that there's a better pick out there. But he said he's a good locker room coach and everyone likes to play for him. So he's indifferent. But I think, they screwed it over last time when they had the interim head coach that led them to the playoffs. They didn't hire him back. So I think that they might take the chance. But Mark Davis has said he wants a household name. So we'll see. But I'd give it to Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to go to Antonio Pierce. Let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Who do you expect to be the head coach there?
It's tough too because again, there's coordinators that might be getting head coaching jobs, so I'm not too sure. Again, that's a team where they probably want an offensive guy because they had defense, and the last with Staley and the other guy who I can't remember who sucked. So they probably want to go offense just to see. So could be anybody.
I like that one. I mean, could be anybody. That's very well true. I mean, I know expectations are that Bill Belichick, that's where he's probably looking to land. That's the tough one.
Yeah, it might be good for him, maybe, but
let's move on to the NFC South, talking about the Atlanta Falcons. And they fired Arthur Smith after a 7-10 finish to the season. Who do you think is going to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons?
Again, I haven't really dived into coaching candidates or anything, so it's hard to say. But they got a decent team. They got they got a good O-line. They got some weapons, young weapons. They need a quarterback, but I don't know. I don't think Belichick will go there. Do
you think an offensive or defense? So let me ask you that. Do you think an offensive coach or a defensive coach?
I guess it depends who's left because the good ones will all get scooped up first. So it all depends on who gets at who first and offers the most money and takes them. But I don't know. Maybe I would go offense for them.
So some of the biggest head coaching available or first-time head coaches that could be available is number 1, Ben Johnson from the Lions. A sleeper pick is the Texans offensive coordinator, and I can't even think of his name now. Bobby Slowick. Yep. As another one. A few other ones, defensive coaches. For the Lions, Dan Quinn, as well as we saw Gerard and Mayo staying place, but that's the biggest ones. But let's move on to the Washington Commanders. And Sean, you don't have to give me a head coaching answer as far as who you think as a person, but offensive or defensive coach do you think is going to go to the Washington Commanders?
I'll probably just say offense because they had defense with Rivera, so they'll probably want to switch it up.
Yeah, I could see that very well too. I like this comment from John Robert saying Eric the enemy. for the Falcons. Yeah, that would be a good spot for him to go to. Also, this is Matt Chatter coming into the chat. I greatly appreciate him for coming into the chat as well. Let's move on to the Tennessee Titans, who fired Mike Vrabel and are going to be looking for another head coach. Do you think offensive or defensive for the Titans?
I'm not sure. They're not going to have Henry anymore. They don't got AJ Brown anymore, Kevin Byard anymore. So their core is leaving. So no Tannehill. So I don't know. They got a young quarterback, so maybe they want an offensive-minded guy. But again, it all depends. There's a lot of openings. Almost over a quarter of the league is gonna need new coaches. So, and again, McCarthy might get fired, McDermott might get fired. Any of these coaches could get fired. So we really don't know. But again,
I'm going to say this right now. I don't expect McDermott to get fired no matter what happens after.
Yeah, probably not. But I don't expect McCarthy to get fired either. But people are saying it, so it's just
yeah.
Who knows what happens? If we get blown out at home, then maybe he will. But yeah, it's just tough. It's tough to know right now at this point in time because there's a lot of openings, a lot of candidates, a lot of great choices. So it's really first come, first serve. Whoever's offering the most money with most enticing.
Yeah.
Some coaches might be like, well, I'll be a coordinator on my team that I'm currently on that's good instead of going to the Panthers if that's the only thing left. Yeah. So maybe a college guy will take the Panthers job, or like a Ken Dorsey, someone who's had a coordinator job and, is willing to give it a crack.
Yeah.
But
I could very well see that. I mean, not Ken Dorsey, but somebody like that.
Right.
Somebody that's looking for their next opportunity to make a little money. But hey, listen, let's put it this way. I would take the job for $5 million a year and to know that, I only have to coach 10 games and then I can spend the rest of my life just on a beach somewhere in the Bahamas or wherever the hell I want to go.
Yeah. So, and Matt Rule gets to double down. He gets paid by college and by the NFL.
That is true.
He doesn't even coach the NFL.
That's very well true. But Sean, let's get into, I know we mentioned keys to the game, but let's talk about some of the important things that we have to look out for the Steelers. And I want to get into those and let's start with the defense of the Steelers. What are 3 things that we have to look out for the Steelers?
They got, I got an aggressive secondary. Minka's back. Patrick Peterson's decent. He's old, but decent. Joey Porter Jr. is really good. Of course, they got great guys up front, Hightower and Cameron Hayward. So really, their weakest level is probably linebacker, and then maybe the other corner other than Joey Porter, maybe it's Levi Wallace. So Josh has to do a good job because they're going to do a lot of disguised coverage. They're going to bait Josh into throwing in what looks like single coverage turns into double coverage. So which he gets picked off a lot in because he's not paying attention to the defense. So they'll do that. They'll do that a lot. So Josh needs to pay attention to that. They're going to really try to bait him. So he just has to read the defense well and stay on top of his game.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We do have a score update again. John Robert coming in hot again with a 21-17 Detroit, as well as Christopher Roseborough. Really do appreciate both of you for giving the score updates. 21-17 Lions so far. Hoping that the Rams score one more time just so that I can get the points back and make up for that one loss that I had. Get back on the right track.
Yeah.
Sean, I'm going to open up the floor to you and see if there's anything that you want to talk about specifically for the Bills game or anything that you want to talk about in particular. We are at about the 45-minute mark, but let's open the floor up to you, man.
I mean, this is what it's all about. This is everything they want is still in front of them. It was a rough year to start. They had lost a couple games they shouldn't have lost. We really should be the 1 seed right now. But again, they did this to themselves. They wrote their wrongs in the regular season. Now it's a brand new season, and it's just as good of a year as any to go all the way. You can only go 1 week at a time, but everything you want is right in front of you. You got a favorable matchup this week. You got Kansas City at home next week if you win. Then if you beat Kansas City at home, you're either going to Baltimore, who you've beaten in the playoffs before, or you're hosting a rookie quarterback who plays in a dome 12 games out of 17 every year. So I like the odds in that favor for that.
Yeah.
So really, it's just these guys got to come to play. I'm excited. I was upset the game got canceled because I wanted to watch the game, but glad that everyone's safe and it's a different day. But I'm just super excited to get out there or watch and see the guys get out there and see how they come out. Are they going to come out flat? Are they going to come out with a burst of energy, thinking we're at home right now? Last time we had a home playoff game, we looked like we didn't deserve to be out here and we sucked. So let's give these guys the fans something to cheer for. And again, you're 3 games away from a Super Bowl.
That is true.
To be in the Super Bowl. So win this one, you got 2 more. It's little steps. So I think they'll be good. I think, we didn't end the season with great wins. With the Patriots, we didn't look that good. The Chargers, we didn't look that good. And the Dolphins, it was shaky at times. But if we don't turn the football over, this is going to be a blowout type game. And we're going to be looking really good going into the next round.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. John Robert coming in with a comment saying if Fournette isn't coming up, Murray will be active. I don't believe that Fournette will be activated for this game, so I do believe that it'll be Murray. I think that he needed a couple weeks off just to get his feet back under him, and he had a little bit of a rough patch, but I think he'll be back to normal again. But, Sean, I'm going to do closing thoughts right now and close it out. We do have 9 people in the chat. If there's anything that you want to talk about, put it in the comment section below, and we will get to that. But, Sean, closing thoughts from you.
Yeah, just glad we're back on here every week. Hopefully, we get another week of this, and we can celebrate. And weekly picks has been fun. If the Lions win, we both picked the Bills and the Eagles, so this would be the deciding factor, really. But playoff football is nothing like it. I'm super excited. John Roberts said Diggs and Allen said 4 more wins. Yep, 4 more wins to be the champs. And I like to see Diggs and Allen get a couple of nice touchdowns. I like to see the running backs go crazy. I like to see the defense run wild and be tenacious and set the tone. If we're kicking off, I want someone to get laid out. If we're returning, I want someone to get laid the fuck out. I want to just complete, everyone just balling out. So can't wait. I'll be working tomorrow up until the game probably. So
man,
it'll get me through the day, and then go 1-0 every week. Get this done.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. I think the keys to the game for me, I'm going to say this, run the football quite often, get big holes from the offensive line. That's going to be one of the biggest keys. Number 2 is get the ball to your playmakers and get the ball to Dalton Kincaid as well as Stephon Diggs. I think those are the main things. On defense, then it just comes down to, playing within yourself, not a lot of penalties in this game, and that's on all 3 aspects of the game. Play within yourself, not a lot of penalties, wrap up, tackle, do your job, and the next thing is don't look past the Steelers because they're a tough coach team, and they can come back at any moment. And I know that Mike Tomlin's not going to make it easy for the Buffalo Bills. He's a William and Mary guy, a very smart guy as well, and he'll make sure that he's ready for this game, and he'll make sure that the Steelers are ready. So that'll be the main thing for me. But all right, Sean, let's just get a score update real quick from the Lions game. I do want to get to that because I think that's important. We've done a lot of updates. It is 21-17 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. So we will be at halftime just about when we get off of the channel. But
it's a good game.
It's a great game so far. We got another half of the game. I do expect the Rams to win this game. I just have a feeling that Matthew Stafford is going to come back with a touchdown to win the game, and it's going to be by like Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp. One of the two is going to catch it. We'll see what happens, but we do appreciate everybody for joining us on the chat. all the new guests that we saw as well. Greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on social media. We are live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. for the Red, White, and Ruthless show. This time we are on Sunday. I know it seems weird that we were on Sunday, but because the Bills game was moved back a day, we had to push our show back another day. Do want to give a little birthday shout out real quick to a couple friends of mine. A friend of mine and my stepmom, and Jeff Thompson, as well as my stepmom. I won't mention her name because she never likes for me to put it on the show. So I will say happy birthday to both of them. Greatly appreciate you guys for supporting me and always watching the shows. We'll be back next Saturday for another edition of the Red, White, and Ruthless. Until then, go Bills.
Go Bills.